everybody would join us in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let's begin with the approval of the minutes of the March 15, 2016 statutory and regular meetings, please. Can I have a motion?
I'll move.
Carol made the motion.
Second.
Second by Rowdy. Is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
Okay. Before we start here, just a little thought here. Most of you know that our PKA principal, Debbie Davis, is in the hospital, and just I'm sure we'd like to share all of our hopes and prayers are with Debbie and her family during this time, and I'm saying everybody at the school up there. So apparently Mr. Limb was up there a little bit ago. It's all at the hospital, and things seem to be going a little bit better, aren't they, Bill?
A little bit, but she's still critical.
Okay, so just keep Debbie in your thoughts and your prayers, and hopefully everything will work out right there. Okay, first, next is our public comments. Mr. Bill, anybody signed in there? Okay, no one signed in. So we'll go to presentations and reports, and if I'm right, I see Mr. Parsons back there. He's going to give us an energy update. Joe?
Okay.
You were trying to hide, but I can see you.
I was hiding back there as best I could. This is probably will be my last energy report to you folks. So, and I want to say up front, I appreciate, the years I've been here. I've had good experience, got great people to work with, and I encourage you to continue on with the energy program with somebody on a part-time basis if possible. I'm not going to go through the whole normal routine, about our savings and stuff. Our savings is staying current. We're 24.4% on cost avoidance, and so far savings through the February billing period is amounting to $172,568, and that is compared to the baseline year, which is the 2006-2007 school year, the first year preceding our entering this program.
Okay, is that effective from beginning in July?
July 1st through June. So we've got 4 months left in this savings period to go. And we've been averaging somewhere around $220,000 to $240,000 a year savings, and I think we'll hit that target again. We've got a third of the year left to go, and we're coming up. The summertime is our big savings period. What I would like to talk about are some of the other peripheral programs that I manage over there that you all may or may not know about, and things that we have done with that. We are involved since 2010 with Core Energy on a demand reduction program. And what that essentially is they pay us an amount of money to be on standby in case there's an emergency on the grid anywhere on the eastern seaboard, and then we will cut back like our chillers and whatever else that we have that we can cut back to lessen the burden on the grid. During the time that we've been involved, they've called one emergency, and it was in late July. We usually have to do one test a year, and it's usually in August, early August. They called one emergency. We did some minimal cutbacks on what I can do from over here on the computer, and we did fine. And that year, we didn't have to do a test because the actual emergency event was close enough in time to the test. They just used that for the test. But from that program, when we got our first check on that program in October of 2010. Since that time, they have paid us $60,896. This is a program that myself and Birdie talked about. Dana, we all got together and decided it would be something good to be involved with. And I want to say Mr. Roach was the superintendent at that time. And at that time, he told me to keep that as an energy budget to do energy saving projects as well as an awards program for the schools. And we did the awards program 1 year, and then we didn't do it after that. But that has continued through all the superintendents since Mr. Roach. And I want to tell you what we've done with that money. We have replaced all of the Mercury-style thermostats throughout the system with programmable thermostats, which is something I can go out and do, like when we hit spring break. I can go out and program the schools that's got thermostats still, which is Ranger, Duval, Midway. I can program those thermostats so the heating and cooling doesn't come on throughout the break. Then I can go back out the night before schools takes back up and program them to go back on a normal schedule. That saves us a tremendous amount of money. It's something that would be impossible to do with the old Mercury thermostats. We have purchased with the help of Darlene out of Birdie's office, we purchased used controls for West Hamlin Elementary School. And I worked with Kenny Hugert and some of our maintenance people that Dana provided for me. And in the past, we had huge problems regulating West Hamlin because the way they piggybacked an old control system on top of a new one. We removed all the old controls, put in the new stuff, and we got that completed. The entire school now is under automated control, and it works well. We've also put controls on the Guy Valley Gymnasium. I think I reported previously to you, we had some problems with some people that may or may not have been board employees that go in there in the evening and they turn the air conditioning down to, 55 degrees, and they leave it for the weekend or left it overnight, and they burn up a $4,000 compressor. And I spoke with Dana at that point, and I said, we've got to get control of that. So we put automated controls on the Guy Valley Gym, and now I control that from right over here in my office. Jonah gives me a call if they have an event, or sends me an email, and I make the adjustments, and it runs. It's worked really well. We also put the same type of controls, and these are all and/over controls. That's what we use throughout our entire system. We put controls on Hamlin Elementary, in the cafeteria, in the 4 classrooms down by the little multi-purpose room in the elementary school, and also in the multi-purpose room. That, once again, was done with the help of Kenny Hugert from the State Education Department, who's providing us free labor and expertise, and then I help. And like I said, Dana quite often provides one maintenance guy for me to help when we pull the wire and stuff. We have put up LED lighting in the storage bays at the maintenance shop and also all throughout the garage and transportation. That has been a tremendous savings for us because the old type of metal halide lights, you had to turn them on, you had to wait 10 or 15 minutes for them to warm up and all come on. And because of that, they never wanted to turn them off because then when they wanted to go back in. LED lighting, as soon as you flip that switch, it's on, flip it off, it's off, no problem. So now they're more apt to turn off the lights when they're not needed or somebody's not in the building. We put LED lighting at the Midway multi-purpose room. We've converted all of that. LED lighting in the gymnasium at West Hamlin Elementary. LED lighting in the big gyms at Guy Valley, Hamlin, and Duval. Essentially, every gymnasium or multi-purpose room that we have in this system now has LED lighting, and it's instant on, instant off. And that's, like I said, huge because the gym's always the last thing the janitors clean up, and they don't want to have to wait for the lights to come on, so they would leave them on from the time school's out until 9 o'clock at night when they go over to clean up. So now they're turning them off, and then they kick them on when they go in. And we have purchased, and they have not been installed yet, but we have purchased LED lighting for Ranger Elementary, for the multi-purpose room there. So I'm waiting on that to come in. But we have made good use of that money. I think we've spent it in a fashion that's going to help us save over time even more money than what we have going here. That's pretty much everything I wanted to tell you about today. Like I said, the program's running good. I sent an email today to Synergistic, who is the company we partner with, And like I said, this program is already paid for. So as long as we continue to employ a part-time, at least a part-time energy manager, keep our software upgraded, and continue to use the audit forms that they sent to us, we can avail ourselves of their services free of charge. And that's a pretty phenomenal thing to get. But anyway, I sent out an email to them today to request their assistance on submissions for Energy Star Awards once again for our schools. I think we've got at least 5, maybe 6 schools this year that have qualified. I'm hopeful that we can get that back before I leave in June. So I'd like to see that done. We've had schools qualify every year that we've been here, but due to scheduling conflicts in 2013 and 2015, we didn't get the submissions in. We run back too late. You have to wait a year after you submit it, and then there's a deadline. So hopefully we'll get that done this year, and that's a big feather to talk to the public about, that we're running that efficiently with our schools that we receive Energy Star Award. Having said that, anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions of Joe?
I'd just like to thank you, Joe, for what you've done.
I appreciate it, and I will, if you decide to continue with a part-time person, I'll help with the interviews if you want me to. I will help train, that person even after I leave. You got my phone number, give me a call and I'll help them out anyway.
I know where you live.
Yeah, that's true.
Joe,
That's
related to that now, what time frame do you envision a person, if they were to work part-time, doing that?
There's 3 days in my mind that's most important. Friday evening, Saturday morning, and the reason for that is you get into the buildings Friday evening after everybody's gone and early Saturday morning and shut it down for the week. There's 2 days of savings.
Do you actually have to go to each school to do that?
Yes, sir, I do. Because you would be amazed to walk into some of these schools on a Saturday morning and see what's left to them. It's just, but, so you actually have to physically go in, you have to turn off lights. Exhaust fans are the biggest thing. They tend to want to leave the exhaust fans on in the restrooms. And if you've got a fan that's moving 200 or 300, cubic feet of air a minute, you'll completely exchange the air in that building over the weekend from air that you've already paid to condition to outside air that's come in and fill the vacuum. And you have to recondition it all over. That's expensive. The other day that's most important, and I try to be out here early on most Mondays. I haven't the last couple, 3, because I've had budget meetings over there. But Monday morning, if we're going to come out and we're going to have trouble with a chiller or a boiler not coming on, if there's been a power outage and the hot water or chilled water pumps have kicked out and needs reset, the way these systems work, if the pump isn't on to move the water, then the chiller or the boiler won't come on. It's a safety mechanism. They don't want the boiler heating up and nowhere for that water, that heat to go. So, Monday morning, somebody can come out at 6 or 7 and maybe within a couple hours, because if you identify the problem, the maintenance people will go out and take care of it. And then Friday evening and Saturday, probably 10 to 12 hours a week.
But that computer will tell you if you've got a problem.
Yes, it will. I can go in there and pull the computer up and look at the temperature on the boilers, and I can tell you if that boiler's on or off. Same thing with the chiller. If the chiller's on, the temperature on the supply water should be around 45 degrees. If it's above that, the chiller's not on. And then you have to look at the pumps, see if the pump's running. Sometimes it'll show that it's calling for them to run, but they're not actually running. So if it's showing that the pump's on and the chiller's still not on, or the boiler, then you need to send somebody to school to do a reset on the buttons. And it's not, a big deal. Lord knows I've tried to work with some of the custodians to get these to do the reset. Some of them understand it and do it pretty well. Some of them, you can tell them every day and they're not going to remember. But that's a pretty prevalent problem. I mean, sometimes some of these schools, it's 3 days a week you come out and the boilers are off, or offline, or the chiller's off. And then there's units on the rooftop, they've got a freeze stat button that you have to reset sometimes, so that even though the boiler and the pump is on, you have to have that rooftop unit and its fan to circulate the heat through the building. And we have to go periodically. I've driven up to Harts to reset on the rooftop units up there. So, but it's not complicated, and if you had somebody that has just a little bit of time, I've talked to Jeff, and you know, early on when we first did this program, they required you to go, at that time they required you to go to 3 conferences a year, and probably over 50% of the people that are energy managers in other states are teachers. And they do it after school, you know, they're professional people, or they're coaches, and especially in the states where coaches don't have to be teachers, like Tennessee and Texas. You know, they hire a coach, they make them the energy manager too, give them something else to do. But that, I think that's what you could do.
Okay. Well, we've talked with Mr. Minkiff as a board about that need, because we think, you know, it's invaluable what you've done here. So, you know, we want to continue doing that. We just have to maybe Jeff can work with you as to, you know, the numbers of hours and those kind of things, what it is, the exact duties that would be required. But we certainly want to continue for all the things you just said to us.
Okay. Well, I sure will.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons, for all your service.
But you also check the water in the restrooms too, make sure that's not.
Yeah, we've caught, I don't know how many times we've caught leaks. You know, pipes, I walked in West Hamlin one day and pipes was broken in the actual boiler room. They didn't buzz, they just separated. And there was water all in the gym, all down the hallways. You know, they had to call out, John Roy came out, he got some of his custodian, and I was there too. And, you know, I was swinging the mop and running the, whatever it is, the scooters. I probably should say that, I was like, what is, custodians will file grievance on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you gotta pitch in and help with stuff like that. Water, we don't save a tremendous amount of money on water simply because we don't do irrigation. In some of these other states, that is a huge cost savings thing, is water and sewer. But they do irrigations on grounds, on athletic fields. We don't have to do that here. So we don't save much on water. Almost everything that we save is electricity and gas. And in this particular year, last probably, 2 years, Bertie, where gas prices have gone down, you know, our savings on the gas has dropped because the price of gas has dropped and we're not saving as much money. We're still, usage-wise, we're still saving the same, but money-wise it's not. But electricity has gone up, and what we lost on, you know, natural gas, we gained on electricity, so it's kind of balanced out.
Joe, let me ask you this. You talked about the critical times that we would have to have someone in a part-time role. But what I heard you say was these boilers and chillers can go offline as many as 2 or 3 times a week. So if we have someone part-time, what happens if a boiler and chiller?
You're going to be dependent on, and this is going to get sticky because Dana's not going to be over there either. He's retiring. You're going to be dependent on the maintenance department because that's where the computer is to check it. And then Greg Gosling has a terminal over at the high school. And Greg, I think, takes care of the high school, but I don't know how often he actually looks at the other outlying schools. But having said that, we've got a guy over in maintenance that we have has taken an interest in doing some of our heating and cooling work and valve change outs and actuators, things that we normally in the past would have paid Mason and Berry or Simco or BA Justice to come in and do, and he is doing some of that work. And he also is taking an interest in Greg Gosling's working with him and teaching what to do on the computer, what to look for. I've worked with him, told him, you know, if you get on here and you see this, check this, look for that, you know, try to manipulate these valves to see if it's just a stuck damper And if it doesn't make any change, then you might need to actually go out there and look for a mechanical issue. And sometimes that's all it is. You got a room that's hot and the rest of the building is fine. You go to the damper and manipulate it back and forth, and it's just stuck, and it'll open up. But he has to know how to do that on the computer, and I've showed him that. So we've got people over there that can do the troubleshooting during the day when the kids are here, but you don't save money when the kids are in the building much. We're saving our money in the evenings and over the weekends and over the holidays, when there's nobody in the building. We can actually shut it down.
So, from the perspective of locating and diagnosing these problems, is it normally something that you see by virtue of the computer system, or do you get a call saying, hey, we have a hot room, then you go in the computer system and look?
It can be both, where sometimes now I'll go over to Milton and work in the morning and then come in here at noon and work like noon to 8 in the evening. And a lot of times I'll come in at noon and there's messages on my phone or on my computer saying, hey, we got hot rooms. And that happened last week at West Hamlin. I came in, Rick Davis had sent me a couple messages. I came in and looked, and the chiller wasn't. So I called over there. I knew they had some power outages over the weekend. And I said, Rick, has anybody been in the boiler room and reset the pump? And it's just a simple matter. There's one button on the face of the pump control. You do it, push it, and it resets the pump. And he said, I haven't thought to go back there and do that yet. And he walked back, he hit the button, and within 5 minutes, the chiller came on. So that's the first thing I do when I go in the mornings. I came in today at 7, and the first thing I do is sit down and look at all the schools, look and see, are the boilers on? This time of year it's tough because we need heat in the morning, and about 10 o'clock we'll have to switch over to air conditioning. But I look at all the boilers, I look at the chillers if it's chiller season, and I see which ones are on and which ones are off. Today, Hamlin Middle School boilers were off. Well, the maintenance people were getting ready to go out, and we had Smitty stop by at Hamlin Middle School and reset their pump. So it's something that somebody needs to look at, but they've got people over in maintenance that can look at it on a daily basis. If that answers your question.
Wait, that's, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe, for all your service.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the only presentation we had scheduled today, so we'll move to the administrative section. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Bree makes a motion, Larry seconds to look at the administrative items. Mr. Mickey.
Okay, item A, Glenville State College student Ashley Parsons to perform 5 hours observation in Hamlin PK8 on March 25th, 2016. Item B, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones for athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings, and have completed a volunteer orientation. Item C is the adoption of our 2016-17 school calendar, which is attached. After you approve the calendar today, by the end of the week, I'll submit it to the State Department for their approval and State Board approval. I would like to mention that House Bill 4171, or the calendar deal, is still on the governor's desk. He's had it for a while. He's not done anything with that bill. As I pointed out last week, our calendar for 16-17 meets the guidelines for that bill if he would happen to sign it into law. Except for the fact that we would have to go in there and add a couple of additional faculty senate days for our teachers to meet. So I don't know what the governor's going to do. There was an article in West Virginia Metro News this weekend that indicated that he has until April the 1st to decide whether or not to sign the deal. So I'll keep you updated. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
Jeff, is it possible then, should he sign it, that we might get it back just to add those faculty senate days?
That's what I believe could happen.
That'd be helpful.
That'd be the only, because everything else, meets the guidelines. So I think we're okay.
Okay, good.
Item D is out-of-state travel for the following personnel. That's Tim Elliott to Louisville, Kentucky, to attend the VEX World Championships utilizing CTE funds. And Hearts PK8 will be attending the Educators Conference on Differentiated Instruction, Las Vegas, in July. And Randy Shaw, Hamlin PK8 teacher, will be attending or going to Orlando, Florida for the Learning and Brain STEM Conference, which is being funded through Title I, and she's replacing Mrs. Ferguson, who's unable to attend. And that's all.
Anybody have any questions or concerns about any administrative items? Okay, if not, then I'll call for questions. Is that an all yes on the administrative items?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the finance section. Have a motion to discuss those, please.
So moved.
Rowdy made the motion,
Second.
second by Carol. Treasurer Gandy.
Okay, item A, scheduled invoices totaling $601,581.25. They are attached, and invoices are available for public review in the county office.
All right, I think everybody's had the opportunity to look at all the invoices. Anybody have any questions about any of those? Okay. All right, nothing else, then we'll need a motion for an action then to approve the finance items. Is that an all yes on the finance approval of the invoices?
Yes.
All yes? All right, we'll go to the personnel category here. Any motion?
Second.
Mr. Curry, Mr. Wilkerson. Okay, Mr. Limble.
Item A, employment of substitute service personnel pending completion of state requirements for bus operator. B, employment of extracurricular athletic personnel. And C, resignations and retirements. Also, down at the bottom is termination of extracurricular contract professional personnel per West Virginia Code 18A-416, 18A-2-2, 18A-3-2A, and 18A-48B, and 18A-27. Those are our interventionists that are hired each year out of Title
Is that just due to the issue of whether there'll be funding for the coming year?
That is correct, and if the funding, most likely they'll be back next year.
Anybody have any other questions on the personnel items? Okay. All right, if not, then I'll call for question. And an all yes on the personnel items?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right, we're down to the comments, concerns first. Any board members, anybody have any comments, concerns about any? Mr. Bucky has got all kind of post-it notes today.
What you see, last week we had a discussion about our loss of enrollment since our October second month report to the State Department. I'd mentioned the fact that we're down 57 students during that period of time, a number which includes 27 students who are homeschooled since that period of time. And in that discussion, you know, we talked about the educational level of the parent or the provider, what was required in the law for them to be able to homeschool a child. And I just wanted to clear that up today because I think maybe there was some misinformation through that dialogue. Just wanted to make sure that that we're on the same page here, is that according to the current homeschool guidelines, what we have in place right now, it is true that the parents wouldn't necessarily have to have a high school diploma or a GED to homeschool their child. However, the provider does. So if it's the parent that's going to provide the homeschool instruction, or they're going to go outside and get a provider to provide the instruction, that person does have to have a high school diploma or a GED. So that minimal requirement is there. Very quietly, and Sean and I talked about this earlier in the week, there was a House bill that made its way through the legislature, House Bill 4175, the homeschool bill, that made its way to the governor's desk and was recently signed into law. It takes effect May the 23rd. Appears to me, as I read the bill, or read through it, is that it's going to even further reduce the restrictions that are placed on parents and providing homeschool services to their children. So it kind of takes away some of the requirements, like such as annually reporting to the superintendent the parent's intention to homeschool their child. Now they only have to do that one time, to make that one single notification. It still maintains the fact that the children must take either the state assessment each year or a nationally norm test that's go older than 10 years old, and to report those scores to the school system, or the child can do a portfolio and of work and have a certified teacher sign off on the child's progress, which is given to Mr. Pritchard. He maintains that documentation here for us. We did get in touch with the State Department. State Department, in terms of what kind of data they collect on homeschooled students, is pretty minimal, very small. What they ask counties to report each year is the number of homeschooled students, what grade the students are in, as well as the number of homeschooled sites or locations. Just meaning if a parent, homeschools more than one of their children, that's not counted individually, but that's just one location. Or if there's a provider out there that has services for homeschool children, they may service 15 or 20 kids. That's just one location or one site. But in terms of test scores and results and how those students compare to the other students in the state and take the assessment, the kind of information is not maintained.
Now, am I correct there that it would still be true that a person would have to have a GED or a high school diploma to provide the instruction?
That's true. That would remain intact.
Jeff, do you read the laws on homeschooling as setting a floor or setting a ceiling as to what a local board could require? Does that make sense?
Well, it seems to me, from what I gathered from this deal, and I also want to point out that the State Department sent out a message yesterday, an email, that they want to have a webinar in a couple of weeks to go over these changes, these guidelines. So the State Department's also on top of what's going on, make sure everybody's on the same page. But it appears to me that it really lessens the superintendent's ability to be able to question the parent's decision to homeschool that child and whether or not that student is making adequate progress. So where you really have to have, some ammunition to go to that parent and say, homeschooling is not working for your child. In my belief, the best interest would be for your child to be back in our school system. But,
They don't no longer take the assessment that our other students would have, right?
It's not a
So you don't
requirement.
have anything to compare it to.
Right, they can go out and take some other assessments are out there that are available. And I think it requires, in the future that parents are required that the results of the test be submitted for their children in grades 3, 5, 8, and 11. Those are to be reported to the superintendent. So I've read the bill a couple of times, and I still have some questions about some of the language that's in there, but hopefully this meeting with the State Department, they'll clarify some things for us.
I think it's good as I can be.
Not necessarily.
Given the status of knowledge about this forthcoming bill, may have more questions later, once we know more about this. I mean, and Jeff, my question was really this. It's just something to think about, because I know you can't answer it. Does this bill, and do the other laws that touch on this area, establish a minimum set of standards that says if you do this, you may homeschool and don't have to worry about anything else? Or do they say, these are the minimum things you must do to qualify to homeschool your child? Which in the latter case would give us, if we felt the needs of the homeschooled students weren't being met, that would give us as a board, you as a superintendent, the opportunity to present something to us as the board that provided higher standards or more standards. Because it seems to me that I mean, I know that in our system, we can't, I think the data is anonymous enough that we can't determine what any individual student is doing as far as progress beyond the report cards. But in this instance, there's nobody looking to see how the homeschool children are doing. There's nobody tracking to see if any of them go on to college. Nobody, right?
Right, it's not data that the department collects.
So nobody collects it then, unless there's a
Some
homeschoolers
national,
association
yeah.
or something that collects it. And I would think that there would be, because they would want, I know someone has said that there's a very strong lobby for the homeschool organizations. And I would think they would want that information as ammunition for the new laws they're trying to pass. But, you know, it just seems like there's no safety net here for homeschool children.
Just
And maybe that's the reason for homeschooling. People want to control their children's education and don't want outside interference. And I mean, I certainly respect the rights to do that if they comply with the minimum laws in that area, but I'd just like to know personally how they're doing.
Well, again, as I read this bill, it looks to me like it just broadens even farther, and makes it much easier for a parent to homeschool their child. And like I say, this bill really, it made its way through the legislature to the governor's desk. It was pretty quiet. There was much more attention to the Tim Tebow bill, which I think everyone probably heard about that bill that would have enabled homeschool students to be able to participate in extracurricular activities, including participating on our athletic teams. But this one just quietly made its way through. And, matter of fact, Sean pointed it out. I didn't even know that it made its way to the governor's desk.
Like a while ago. It wasn't like last week. It was.
But it seems like things are becoming a lot more lenient. 20 or 30 years ago, that's when they had to take this type of assessment, gave you something to compare them to. Because we'd oftentimes have students that were homeschooled, they'd make arrangements, come to the school and take the state mandated test at the same time your other kids were doing.
And they can still do that now, can't they?
They
If want to.
voluntarily, they can.
Right.
But we don't have any idea how many of them opt to do that, do we?
No.
And no way to track it.
But now, see, that's been done away with, and I guess they can use some other form of assessment. Then you got apples and oranges and all
Yeah.
that. It seems, not just here, but nationally, I think there's.
I mean, it would be interesting to me to know if our homeschooled children had the same ratio of college attendance, college graduation as students that are educated in our public education system. I know that's a pipe dream, there's no way to track it. But it would, it'd be interesting to know for two reasons. One, not just how well the homeschooling system's doing, but how well we as an educational system are doing for our children compared to those people that homeschool their kids.
But once we have our webinar, our meeting with the State Department, if there's anything from that meeting that takes place that I feel like that you all need to hear, I'll share it with you. I'll bring it to you.
What else?
That's all I have.
With all those posted,
That was like,
scared me to death when I saw these things. Okay, if nobody else has anything from the board, then we do have our next item here will be our work session. Dane is with us. I think he and Mr. McGiff have talked about establishing priorities for maintenance facilities. Dane Smith. How many days, Dane?
49 and a half.
49 and a half, all right. I always have to ask him every time. I know he's got that.
Before we start, Brenda, could you roll those shades up a little more? There is glare coming off the hood of those two cars, and I am seeing spots.
Might be my smile, my teeth.
Happiness the 49 and a half days?
Yeah.
When he and Joe, I don't know. What's gonna happen?
And this is not complete, because I've had some other things going on that's just taken priority over this list. So it's a work in progress.
Always is, isn't it, Dane?
I'm unsure.
One day to the next, this list can change drastically, can't it?
I think I'm unsure. I'm unsure.
Maybe see if that be out.
actually, I'm gonna note. Maybe-
course, I started trying to number the priorities, and I thought, well, man, this is kind of a difficult thing to do, because you don't know what's gonna tear up first. I don't have a very good crystal ball over there, so